Hey everybody, this is James with the Soundboard team at Edge Theory. Hope everybody's doing well. I am here with Richard Horner, who lives in Louisiana, and he is somebody who's fairly new to the Juice Plus world, but he and I have had a great conversation about passion about not only healthy living, but how that drives your desire to want to talk about the products, and we've also been talking through social media. So Richard, do you mind just talking through, how you feel like not only is it important to talk about healthy living, but how having good content, on your social media platform helps in that regard.
Right. I think the most important thing, I think that, when you start in the conversation up, I think people, people always wonder, I'm looking, you say, hey, you need to live healthy. And I think it's a general term. Sure I do. And I think somebody can say, sure I do. And you can say, well, okay. But if you say, hey, listen, I've been talking about how to best utilize our time, our fitness, or how to stay hydrated, because it's hard sometimes to forget. People will say, oh yeah, that interests me. So I think what happens is what we forget sometimes is we want to talk big picture and generics, and people may not associate the subject that they're dealing with. They may be having a problem with their health, or maybe their kids, they're having a hard time getting them to eat properly, and they're concerned about that. But if you just make it generic and say, hey, be healthy, they think, well, okay, yeah, sure. So I found that when you have an actual specific conversation, people connect with that, and they say, well, it is a concern that I have, talking about their children or talking about their parents, and saying, this is some of the issues that people face, and there's ways to fix it. And I think that's where content comes in with social media and with Soundboard. You can get in those conversations about subjects that really matter to people.
One thing you said before we started recording that stuck out to me was you said that Soundboard has got your back, and I love that thought.
Mm-hmm.
Can you unpack that a little bit?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of times we all have best intentions, right? We think, oh, I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do better. Well, it's the same way with posting. Okay, I need to post more on social media. I need to get out there. And I think one of the things that I've found is when Soundboard's out there, and I don't even have to, if I get busy or something happens and I miss that, I try to post twice a day. I think 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. because when are people most on? But what I found is sometimes if I fall off or I don't get to, or I've got a meeting or I run late, I can look and I can check my activity logs, and there goes Soundboard send things out for me. And usually better articles than what I've chosen. And I've gotten likes. Most of those articles that are sent out get attraction, get likes, get retweeted. So I feel like, this really gives me to where I know that there's content out there, that Soundboard is putting content out there for me. And now when I add my content, it's just solidifying everything I'm doing.
That's excellent. And one of the things we also talked about that is such a big help for people so often is Buffer, because, the Soundboard does auto tweet for you, but some of these other platforms people enjoy being on, Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, don't allow for auto posting. So how has Buffer helped you with those platforms?
Well, I think what Buffer really helps me with is I like to say, okay, I'm going to get organized, and I'm on my Soundboard at that time, and I think, okay, I've got some time right now, and I can start searching, and I type something in, running, and I type in nutrition, or MD Anderson, because they have a lot of good things on cancer. And then I've got all these ideas in my head at that moment. I send them the Buffer, and they're there. And now I've got all of these things that I'm thinking about while I'm sitting at my Soundboard, and I've got the time that I now can throw them all out there. And now I've done a lot of my work for the week. And so now I can go back to Buffer, and I can choose, and I can, control it, and I can put what time. And I just think it's just a good way, because we don't always say, well, I've got this 5 minutes to go to Soundboard, but I got to go back later. Maybe we don't get to go back later. And I just feel like it's a good way to really, to get as most, at that moment, to get your brain to utilize everything that you're thinking of at that time and put it into content.
Yeah, that's an excellent thought. As far as growing your business goes, both from a customer base as well as adding to your
Mm-hmm.
team. Have you felt like social media
Mm-hmm.
helped you make those kind of connections to this point?
It does. I think one of the important things about our business is it's a two-sided. It's education. You've got customers and you need to educate them. And the model is as they get educated and as they use the product, they become a raving fan. And that raving fan then turns them into the excitement for the business, and then they want to attract to the business. So it's a two-sided effort. What's great about social media is you just pick the conversation. You go online, people are talking about entrepreneurs, they're talking about business, they're talking about retirement. And you get in those conversations and you're in there with people that are looking for extra ways or looking for help to do that. So from a recruiting standpoint, you're having a conversation, and then once you get that conversation, you just say, hey, message me if you'd like to talk further. And it's really an easy invite, because instead of you trying to invade on somebody, you have a conversation and then you ask them if they'd like to talk further, and they private message you, they comment. And I've really found that it's a great way to start dialogue with people that you maybe couldn't before.
That's excellent, and that's certainly one of the things that we try to talk to people about when we're educating folks on social media. Is these are platforms where you can make connections that you wouldn't have otherwise done it, and don't make the assumption that, hey, my audience isn't on this platform or that platform. You don't know. There's some content out there.
No.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's important. I think it's important to realize, to think about it backwards. Think about the conversation, and then think, who's having that conversation? Like, I like to think, people like myself, males, I'm in my 40s, males in their 40s, what are they talking about? What's important to them? And then try to get in those conversations. And that's what I think the platforms allow you to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. Well, Richard, I appreciate your time so much today. I appreciate you sharing your thoughts. And Richard was one of the folks that found the soundboard through the virtual office. So I'll plug that and just remind everybody that a lot of folks find out about the soundboard from their team leaders or from some of our trainings, but everybody in the Juice Plus Nation can find it. It's under my personal file in your virtual office, and sign up today and get some good content, get the word out about your healthy living journey. So,
yeah, and James, I'd like to add, anybody that's out there that's serious about the business, it's a must. Soundboard's a must, because it's a game changer when it comes to getting you with the content and in that realm where you're doing it consistently.
Hey, truer words were never spoken. I appreciate it, Richard.
Thanks, James.
Thank you.